It's a big event taking place in the FCT, in fact, right in the heart of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory. Such that attracted top government officials, civil society groups, journalists, among other dignitaries from the Federal Capital Territory. Ngozi, a person living with disability, has a role to play at this event. Also, for this reason, she made her way to the venue earlier than any other participant. Why, you may ask? She wants to be sure the arrangements made can accommodate people with challenges like her and to also settle in comfortably before others arrive. But disappointment is what best describes her expectation, as there was no arrangement whatsoever to aid her mobility upstairs, where the event is taking place. Hence, she had to wait downstairs for hours until the event had started and alternative arrangements made to convey her upstairs, an experience she dreaded and considered demeaning.
When we talk about accessibility, people do not understand it. They think accessibility is the door is open, go in. It goes beyond that. And a lot of time people talk about accessibility, talk about inclusivity. But sometimes at the critical planning of certain events, I think whether it's an omission or people not being intentional, they miss this thing out. So I came here and I was out here for about 3 hours. 3 hours, yes, while they were trying. Although the organizers said, because I mentioned it to them, I wanted to be sure that the place was accessible. And they said they were going to check. And eventually, when I called yesterday again to be double sure, they said they had made it accessible. At that point, I laughed. I'm like, how? You know, so when I got here and I saw the afterthought ramps, they are even death traps. That is why they removed them. I told them the woods they use in making those things are not strong. So there's a possibility that with all the weight on it, our weight and their weight, the thing will collapse. You know, that was why they removed them. So it wasn't a pleasant experience at all.
And do you like that?
I didn't like it because I told them from the beginning that nobody is carrying me. Nobody will carry me. If I can't go on my own without anybody interacting with anybody, then let me. You know, but they came. They tried to. I was carried. It wasn't right. It wasn't right at all.
Now, that's the plight of many people living with one physical disability or another, like Ngozi. Any limitation on a person's physical functioning, mobility, dexterity, or stamina is termed physical disability. This physical condition has a substantial and long-term negative effect on a person's ability to do daily activities like others. Physical deformities differ from one person to another, with some visible, others not. In some cases, persons are born with a physical disability, while others acquire it later on in life, either due to an accident, injury, illness, or as a side effect of a medical condition. That's the case of beautiful and intelligent Susan Kelechi, whose life took a different turn after a polio incident.
I am a polio survivor, and it's not been an easy walk to this place because disability is most times synonymous to pity, to charity. And so over time, I had grown to understand, with the support of family, to know that charity is not the best model.
Despite her physical disability, Susan has gone against all odds to acquire education and there to attain heights people without abilities never even dared.
I have an OND in computer science, I have a BSc in education, and I have a postgraduate diploma in genetic counseling.
Physical disabilities can impact daily life, mobility, and independence. Individuals with physical disabilities may require assistive devices such as wheelchairs, walkers, and canes. Accessibility modifications, ramps, elevators, adaptive equipment. Rehabilitation services such as physical, occupational, and speech therapy. Pain management and medication, personal assistance such as caregivers, and etc. It is therefore essential to recognize that each individual's experience with physical disability is unique and needs can vary from one to another.
You know, there are different areas in the health sector. How accessible are health facilities? Is there access to ramps to go in? Are the restrooms accessible for women of childbearing age and even women on family planning who are women with disabilities? Do we have weighing scales? Because you cannot do family planning or you cannot be pregnant without weighing. Do they have weighing scales to accommodate? Are the beds accessible to us where we can climb independently without people trying to raise us because the beds are high? Are the ledgers, are they disability disaggregated where they capture disability into their data? All of these things are very important because it will help when they are making interventions, even in the health facility, to accommodate persons with disability, especially women and girls with disabilities.
Join us as we examine issues of corruption affecting the standard of education in public schools in the Federal Capital Territory Nigeria at all levels of education and the impact on the girl and boy child, people living with disabilities, women and youth in general. Join Leaves on Worms on AD4 TV Radio, where government strategies on these critical areas and their impact on the lives of residents of the territory are x-rayed. Stay tuned on our channels weekly for this revealing program jointly produced by AD4 TV Radio and Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism and supported by MacArthur Foundation.
We love AD4 TV Radio. A number of us go out there and they see how things are done. You get to a toilet, a convenience that is as big as this. I could go in with my wheelchair. I mean, the facilities are just there, very, very accommodating. I go in, I'm able to navigate. Now I had to go in with a chair so that I'll be able to into the restroom again. But over there are facilities, there are provisions that when I lift from my wheelchair, I could hold those things too. So it's a terrible situation.
However, despite Susan's qualities and qualifications, she is faced with discrimination every step of the way.
I had so many discrimination, stigmatization, lack of employment, lack of accessible infrastructure generally, and the fact that there are stereotypes. Persons with disability generally are seen as less. People do not even get to interact with you to know what you can bring to the table. They just see you and they assume, oh, pity, hey, yeah, sorry, and all of that. And it doesn't work that way. You need to interact. You need to know the value I bring to the table. And so that was just amongst many other things that I had gone through that I might not even be able to share in details, you know. But we are here today, and we've got platforms that have helped us to be able to thrive because I have been intentional about my growth as a human being, because I am first a human being before my disability.
The experiences of Susan and Ngozi clearly depict a violation of human rights, as well as the act protecting the rights of persons living with disabilities in Nigeria. The act criminalizes the act of discrimination against a person with disability, as it is an offense liable upon conviction to 6 months imprisonment or a fine to the tune of 100,000 naira, or both imprisonment and a fine. Despite the passage of this bill into law by former President Muhammadu Buhari since January 2019, not a single arrest or prosecution of a single person violating the rights of persons with disabilities has been made in Nigeria. Not even the FCT, the center where others should learn from.
We have a lot of very beautiful legislations in Nigeria. The problem is always enforcement. You will hear something like, we have that law. If you talk about this legislation in public, even a lot of these special people themselves don't know. Special people get abused every day. So you now begin to unpack the problem. How do you provide evidence? For instance, a blind man says, or a blind woman says they have been abused. How do they identify who did the abuse? Because remember, the people around, able-bodied people around them will not give them help because they know that if the abuser today is docked, because they are also prone to abusing disabled people or special privileged people. They know that the arm of the law will come for them someday too. So they will desist from assisting the person to nail the perpetrator today. So there is a whole lot of things to unpack, right? But then the enforcement of that legislation at this time in Nigeria is zero. I don't know of anybody that has been docked. Perhaps if there is somebody that has been docked and then it is given widespread publicity in the media, people then learn to keep some of their opinions to themselves. So it's a beautiful legislation, but if it's not enforced, it still leaves us at the same place in a world where people can abuse people with special needs and get away with it.
The lack of accessibility and challenges facing people with disabilities in the FCT and beyond include lack of accessibility and inclusive structures. Despite the country's commitment to providing equal rights and opportunities for all citizens, individuals with disabilities continue to encounter barriers that hinder their full participation in the society.
At the critical planning of taking decisions, they should bring the stakeholders, which are us, to be there. You don't do things for us, you ask us how you want it to be done. Because while you are trying to do for us, you might just factor us out of it. So it is important that we are there at the critical planning of taking any decision so that we can make our own input and say it how it is. Because persons with disability, we have clusters of them. What is okay for me might not be okay for the other person. So when you get these views together, you'll be able to streamline to suit every need.
Every public facility should create access for persons with disability because we all use the same facilities. You are here, I'm here. And so on equal basis, we should be able to find, we are not saying break down this building, but make it more inclusive, find a way to create access so that persons with disability would not be lifted like bags of beans or rice, so that we are able to lead dignified life and come in to any public facility.
We build mega structures. They just put stairs anyhow. We don't think for a second that, what if this building is not wheelchair accessible? Our lifts, our elevators, our escalators, they are not wheelchair compatible. And we see these things in foreign countries on TikTok and we just blush. What are we doing about it in our own individual capacity to integrate these people into society? Because our attitude, even though we are not teachers, we are not school administrators, our attitude as humans, as fellow countrymen, is what will trickle down to the people who are educators and who are educationists. So generally, we have a bad rap for people with special needs. And maybe it's the survival instinct, everybody's just trying to grab whatever they can. So we don't have that time to actually wait and consider somebody else, much more so somebody with special needs. Imagine a school with majority of the students are using wheelchair, but the building is not even wheelchair accessible. So it's already a struggle for them to get into class. There are schools that blind students are attending. There is no braille material for them to read with. It's just expect that somebody possessing their mental eyes will be sharp. I'm like, talking about, You will hear a lot of ridiculous things in Nigeria when it comes to dealing with people with disability. Is it, where do we even want to start from? Is it technology usage? How many of these schools even have computers? You say, let's use on-screen narrator. How many schools have computers? So the challenges are a lot, in all honesty.
The lack of accessible infrastructure, including buildings, roads, and public transportation. Most buildings are not designed with ramps or elevators, making it difficult for people with a mobility impairment to access them. These includes government, offices, schools, hospitals, and other public facilities that should be accessible to all. Public transportation is another area of concern. Buses and taxis are not often equipped to accommodate wheelchairs, leaving people with mobility impairments with limited options for transportation. This makes it difficult for them to access employment, education, and healthcare opportunities.
Look at other countries, how they treat people living with physical disability. There should be an educational system free of charge for those people living with physical disability. There should be a transportation system that is strictly for people living with physical disability to enter free of charge. Let us feel like we are human, that we are not alien. Let us feel part and parcel of the society. Let there be an advertisement on the billboard, on the media houses across the nation, across the continent, that look, people living with physical disability, they are humans like you. Let there be justice. A lot of our girls living with physical disability are being molested sexually because they are limited in terms of strength. People take advantage of them, reducing their self-esteem. So all these things need to be, it needs to be addressed. Give us equal access, give us equal opportunities, and you will see us thrive. A lot of people, personally living with physical disability, are intellectually endowed. What they lack in physical strength, we have in the mental capacity. Our IQ is operating on, no normal human being has such an IQ. Yet we are subjugated, we are relegated to the backstage of life, which is not supposed to be so.
Sonye anyị n'ileba anya na ọtụtụ mpụ na nrụrụ aka jupụtara na ụlọ akwụkwọ gọọmenti ndị nọ n'isi obodo Naijiria bụ Abuja, tụmadụ ka o si metụta mmụta na agụmakwụkwọ n'ogo dịgasị iche iche n'ebe ụmụntakịrị nwoke na nwaanyị nọ, ndị ntorobịa, ụmụ nwaanyị tinyekwara ndị nwere nkwarụ. Sonye ihe emereme Leaves and Worms na AD4 TV Radio, ebe a na-eleba anya ma na-atụgharị atụmatụ gọọmenti dịgasị iche iche ka o siri metụta isiokwu a akpụ n'ọnụ. Na-esonyere anyị n'ihe emereme akwa izu ụka ọbụla n'akara mgbasa ozi anyị niile. Ọ bụ AD4 TV Radio na njikọ aka Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism tinyekwara MacArthur Foundation kwadoro ma hụ maka nke a.
We love AD4 TV Radio.
In addition to physical barriers, people with disabilities also face social and cultural challenges. Many Nigerians view disability as a curse or a source of shame, leading to stigma and discrimination. These can lead to social isolation and exclusion from community activities.
I am married with a beautiful wife. To get married to her was war. It was war from our family. A lot of our family, 80% of our family members rejected her, our friends, and every one of them rejected her because she married to a physically challenged person. And the question I keep on asking is, what if you guys, I happen to be your brother, uncle, your son, would you have wished I never got married? So all these things are degenerated so well.
Most important is that the education sector is another area where people with disabilities face significant challenges. Many schools in Nigeria are not equipped to accommodate students with disabilities, and teachers often lack the training and resources to support them. This can lead to lack of access to quality education and limited opportunities for future employment.
There are lots of challenges people with disabilities face, especially when it comes to employment or securing jobs. The people felt that people with disabilities cannot, do anything for themselves, and they will not be able to contribute meaningfully towards the national development, even to their workplace. But what we need is that the government should realize that they should provide enabling environment, a free playing ground to enable our people compete and do their jobs. Most importantly, they should provide them technology. They should make adequate policies that is disability friendly to ensure that that 5% that is reserved for people with disability should be given to them according to the Disability Act. So these are the things that should be done. I'm a civil servant. I worked as a civil servant and grew from rank and file to become an ambassador today. It's because of the enabling environment that was given to me. So give others the same enabling environment. I assure you that they will do better.
For education, is there different theories. Having special schools has its own special purpose and some special needs. But some other educational theories posited that there's a value when you have the schools, because it helps people who are able to appreciate the challenges of people who are physically challenged. You understand me? However, in the current situation we are right now in Nigeria, the number of disabled persons are increasing by the day because of the insurgency, banditry, and just name it, all over the country. So on a daily basis, that the rank of disabled are increasing. And what government should do is to massively invest, not just for the specials, but generally massively invest in education. And except the government does that, we are going to be in a very difficult situation going forward.
You can't put someone on wheelchair with someone who can work up actively and expect them to arrive at the same destination. There should be a proportional arrangement for their transportation. Government should look into this. A lot of talents have died as a result of this. I keep on telling people the best form of disability is mental disability. Because you are physically disabled doesn't mean you are not a human. You can be physically able, but the moment you are mentally disabled, then there is a problem.
Lack of commitment and political will by the government to address these matters affecting persons with disabilities seem to be a challenge, amongst other issues such as inadequate funding, limited budgetary allocation for disability-related matters, insufficient representation of persons with disabilities in government and decision-making positions limit their voices and perspectives. Unfulfilled promises. Politicians' campaign promises to address disability issues often go unfulfilled, perpetuating mistrust.
When it comes to policies, you don't make policies. Our mantra is leave no one behind. And you can't be making a policy about a woman with disability without a woman with disability who is knowledgeable, not sitting at that table to address. Even as I speak, some women with disability might not know these things that I am saying. I have volunteered in health facilities, so I have first-hand knowledge of how it works. So it's important that we consult organizations especially those who are knowledgeable when these policies are put in, so that we have an all-inclusive policy, not a policy that would discriminate against the people it's supposed to serve.
We make a lot of input. We are everywhere doing advocacy. The problem is the implementation. It's not as if there are no policies. There are policies, but how far have they gone with implementation? So it is the political will to want to implement some of these policies. Otherwise, we have them. You know, it breaks my heart to see that we have these people, they travel there, they see these things, they know how these things are done. I don't know why it is difficult for them to come here and implement it. It's terrible. Sure.
Others are limited data collection on disability statistics and needs hindering effective planning and resource allocation, stigma and stereotypes.
We should not celebrate mediocrity. We should not celebrate palliatives and things that demean the lives of persons with disability. We should be able to spotlight the challenges and seek for possible interventions so that persons with disabilities as well as persons with disability without disabilities live on equal basis, because the same sun and rain touches all of us, and so the same challenges you have, I also have. It's just that there's an extra layer because I have a disability. So it's only fair to make opportunities equal for everyone instead of further magnifying the challenges. It doesn't speak well.
We have a thing with people with special needs. I believe that they say, well, they should not then be called people with disabilities anymore. They're now referred to as people with special needs. Yeah. But whatever the nomenclature, we do not go past that nomenclature in all strata. The other day in the office, we were planning an event, and it was until a day to the event that somebody just quit and was like, oh, we didn't make any allocation whatsoever for people with special needs. We didn't think about it for a moment. I think so. There is a section of society that, left to us as Nigerians, we just want to believe that they don't exist. If it's even possible to disappear out of them, I'm sure that there are people who vote to do that, because we are able, so to speak. We believe that they should just, they will just find their way around. An educated person opened their mouth to say, what does a blind person want to do with education? So we have that syndrome in us. I can tell you authoritatively that it's a Nigerian problem. There is no place you get to in this country where they are being regarded. Not even in the institutions that are trained to train them. That's how dismal it is.
Until these issues are addressed squarely, many more children living with physical disabilities will continue to lose out on their rights to education, while the issues of inclusiveness for persons like Ngozi and Susan will remain only a mirage.